Well, the moment of truth, just 5 days away. For the 1st of November, we all go out to make our mark. So it's just a matter of days before we all go and vote for the ward councillor that we're hoping is going to make a difference to our lives. Politicians still crisscrossing the country in preparation for a last-ditch effort. So let's find out from eNCA election analyst Lukhona and Mnguni about what that last-ditch effort can look like. Hello, Lukhona, good to have you with us. I know you're going to be with us during elections. I'm starting to get the sense from political parties that they've said everything they can. Do you think anything more from here on is just overdoing it?
Well, good morning to you, Gareth. No, it's not overdoing it. Remember, you still have people who are undecided as to how they are going to vote right until the moment they are in the voting booth, in actual fact. It was just yesterday, Gareth, that Action SA themselves issued an internal poll that was showing how people intend to vote in the city of Tshwane. In that press briefing that they issued yesterday, they were very clear that about 25% of people remain undecided as to how they are going to cast the ballot. They made the admission that this is a high figure at this late stage into the election. And one can understand, Gareth, there's too much choice. Where there's too much choice, indecision tends to blow in. There's too much dissatisfaction. There's too much distrust in politicians and the political process, and these breed hesitance among people. So if you've got such a wide spectrum of people potentially who are undecided to vote, the final push is as important.
Yeah, it's almost like a Sunday buffet of political parties. We don't know what we want, so we want to take a piece of everything, and then we have leftovers when we decided that we're too full. Okay, so we've spoken about the undecided voters, Lukhona, as part of a Ipsos poll. eNCA and Ipsos are looking at voter apathy. And I would imagine this is going to be one of the big turning points. We have 5 days left. What can political parties do you think, to get the voter apathy numbers down, get people out with their pens to vote?
It's really about creating the connection between the vote and people's lived experiences. Just now you were doing that inset by Heidi all in the way out in Limpopo. And really it's to show that, you know, there is still possible hope that if you actually elect representatives who are committed to development, who are trustworthy, who are committed to good governance and accountability. Because sometimes, Gareth, you will not move the needle of service delivery very quickly and shortly at local government. Various municipalities have different challenges, where new councils are going to come into a context where municipality is highly indebted, lots of unfunded, mandates that are being executed. That really sets back the next dispensation. So there's a bit of cleaning up to do, trimming the fat, realigning priorities and all of that. But if you're accountable and you take people along, you're most likely going to win because people feel that they are knowledgeable about what is happening or what is breeding constraints within a particular council. So I do think that some of the things that need to be done is really for those people who are on the campaign trail, for civil society that is concerned about public participation and civic education, to actually reach out to society and say, there is a connection between your vote and your lived experiences, and how do you make sure that you make the most appropriate choices for your future and for your municipality.
We've never had an election where you and I have had a chance to talk about two big issues. I might make this my last question to you, Lukhona. Away from politics, but it's going to affect voting day. One is I have spoken to the IEC about what's going to happen during COVID-19 restrictions and the ESCOM issue as well. I can't help but think it could be two big deterrents. People might want to come out and vote, but if there's power cuts, I'm not calling it load shedding, I'm going to call it power cuts, that's what it is, and also COVID-19 restrictions, it is going to change the numbers that come out this year, isn't it?
Absolutely. You are generous with power cuts. I call it blackouts. That's exactly where we are, Gareth. It's a devastating situation. I do think that it will make some people angry enough to go out and vote, because it's quite clear that the people who are at the top don't know what they are doing. However, of course, we know that much of ESCOM's troubles are within the domain of national government. But let's go back to 2016. We did say that the 2016 local government elections were almost a referendum to the wanton corruption that was there and endemic in the state. Now, you also talk about COVID. This is where innovation in the electoral process is needed, Gareth. We've been trying to say we need to have a multimodal voting system. And unfortunately, parliamentarians who are in charge of the legislation just don't hear us. That's because if you go to the US last year in their elections, a state like Pennsylvania, Gareth, resorted to a system they had never used in a long time, mail-in ballots, because you know that the pandemic already makes people scared to socialize, to be in spaces where there are big crowds, to be out there in spaces where they don't have too much control. So yes, it will be a deterrent for some people not to vote, but it's an indictment on how slow we have moved in innovation in the voting system itself.
It has, and it's going to affect the numbers. Lukhona, Mnguni, it's always a pleasure. I know we're going to speak many times over the next few days. Lots of coffee for me, you, and the entire elections team here at eNCA. I did refer very briefly to that eNCA Ipsos apathy poll. It's a poll about the elections coming up. We'll unpack that for you with Rapiwe Madzena just after 7 o'clock this morning.